if you hadn't lost your job, this wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Interesting.
And so we always say that too, that having no plan B forced us to make plan A work. But sometimes when you don't have that to fall back on, you make your plan B or your plan that you want to work, you make it work because you don't have another option.
And that's why life is so scary.
Yeah.
It is. You have to be kind of like always at the edge, you know?
Yeah, like kids, don't quit your day job, but
Sometimes you gotta quit.
sometimes you gotta quit your day job.
Sometimes
So I ran into you guys a couple years ago, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
Sam and Hernan, of Mate Society.
Yeah.
And at the time, you were getting some companies under your belt because you take photos, you do content creation for all these brands. In 3 years, much has happened.
a lot.
You guys have blown up. I mean, beyond any of your wildest expectations, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
What happened?
Well, so should we start from the beginning? Or
Let's start from the beginning.
Well, let's start from the beginning. So Hernan and I met in February of 2020. Hernan was working as a photographer in Indonesia, and I was there traveling. We met, we fell in love at first sight, and then I had to come back to the U.S., and obviously we all know what happened in 2020. So Hernan and I were FaceTiming every day, and his plan was to come to the U.S. and work as a photographer and figure it out. I was working in IT, so I was never going to work with him. Well, then when he arrived, I lost my job in IT. So we started working together after that. The plan was I'm going to use my social security number for you to work as a photographer legally. So kind of like a little under the table way. But then we started getting more and more clients. Actually, Brian, you were our first client.
I am
My name
honored.
was our
Yeah.
first client.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
We weren't admitting it at the time.
In the US.
That's awesome because
Yeah.
I got an email and I think if I remember right, it was from you, Sam, and just introduced yourself. Said this is what we're capable of doing, and we'd love to shoot some photos for you for free, and you'll love them so much you'll keep coming back or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it looked awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah, because our goal was to get some businesses under our belt. You know, we just needed clients. We needed to start something. And Hernan had worked at a coffee shop, and then obviously I knew Mighty Missouri from Bismarck, so I was like, we should shoot for Mighty Missouri, and
Yeah, I mean, all the portfolio that we had was like restaurants and coffee shops, so that was it.
that's how we started reaching out, was to restaurants and coffee shops, which in 2020 was really hard for everybody, obviously, all the restaurants and coffee shops. So then we started to repivot after that. So after we came to Bismarck and did that shoot with you, we moved to San Diego, and we kept grinding because it was our only job. And so after that, we started working for a lot of restaurants, franchises mainly, one of them being Yogurtland and Veggie Grill, which are popular in California. And then in 2021...
Yeah, because we were like trying to get bigger clients and stuff, and it was complicated because of COVID. A lot of restaurants were not doing good, so there was not a lot of budget in that. So we got the realization one day, it's like, let's start to reach out to breweries and CPG brands so we can because they're doing great and they all need online presence. So that was like how we changed.
Yeah, like we were started to reposition to snacks, drinks, online, snacks that needed portfolio online and then on social media. So then in 2021, we kept reaching out. We reach out to about 50 brands a day still to continue getting new clients. And
yeah, there was no business plan. There was like, okay, I take photos. You knew a little bit about doing websites and stuff. So let's just literally the only way that we knew how to get a business was DMing in Instagram. So we were like every day DMing until we get blocked in Instagram.
literally.
Really?
Yeah.
We still do that. That's how we got our big clients now, is a DM on Instagram.
We still do that
Awesome.
to this day.
So you still 50 is the number. You still literally
Yeah, now we reach out
to,
every
50
other
people?
day, by Instagram.
Yeah, so our process now is Hernan reaches out on Instagram until he gets blocked. It's about 50 to 80 a day. And then he'll ask for an email. And then once I get the email, I send our email with our deck and everything. Yeah. And so that's how we're still getting all of our clients. And so going back to the story, in 2021, when we shifted to the consumer packaged goods, we started getting bigger and bigger clients. until I think who was our turning point? Probably when we got one for Procter and Gamble. We really felt like this is a big deal. And then in 2022, we got Nestle, which was really huge for us. And we just continued perfecting our photography skills and moving to bigger, better, trying harder and harder, increasing our budgets more and more, because that was our goal, was to do less projects with higher budgets so we can really focus creatively on each project. And so that's what we're doing mainly now, is a few projects a month, but with good clients with high budget, so that we can really put a lot of energy into them.
Yeah, I think that was turning point when you get a brand like that. That's like, okay, this brand is trusting on our work. So it's like, okay, that means something. That means that we go in the right way, and you kind of need that validation somehow. I don't know if it's insecurity for our own work.
Yeah, because we talk about that a lot, that creatively we get it's easy when it's just us to be like, is this good? I don't know. Is it good? And then that validation from more clients coming back and wanting it again. And then when the big brands want it, it's like, wow, we must be doing something right.
Yeah. Even these larger companies that are like big budget, these generally are coming from you guys pitching them?
Yeah, all of them. Because we DM our dream clients on Instagram and on email, and we harass them a lot. Like every 3 months we're emailing because we really want to work with them, and DMing them on Instagram. And we DM them from our agency account, because our whole other side of our business is doing social media influencer things, but we still DM them from the business account, because that we feel like is the most professional way to DM on Instagram. And they reply, which I don't really know why, to be honest, but we feel like maybe with emails, they're overcrowded with emails. But Instagram DM, a lot of the bigger agencies, the more established agencies, think it's unprofessional. But our whole portfolio is on Instagram, so I don't really think it's unprofessional, because they get to see the portfolio right away.
Right.
And they have a direct line to us if they want a message. But we flip it over to email, and then we start the professional route of talking budgets, setting meetings, but it's all through Instagram DM. Even our recent shoot we did with Bud Light was from Instagram DM. Our recent Nestle was through Instagram DM.
Yeah,
who else?
It's interesting.
I don't know why, really, that this is the new way of getting clients in the modern age.
That's awesome. I mean, it probably helps that you guys have together 15 trillion followers.
I don't think so, because at the beginning we literally start with 0, and at the moment 2 years in the business we still didn't have followers, and it was like the business page, the Instagram of our company was like 2,000 followers and something like that. So it was definitely not about that. It was like showing our work in it and just reaching out, and it's a lot of, if one replies today, that's great.
Yeah, I think our biggest reason for the success was the reach out and the consistency, because we noticed that if we got really busy with work and too many projects, we weren't reaching out. And then the next month we suffered from that because we didn't have as much work. So even now when we get really busy, we continue to push and reach out, or we just have to get higher budgets so we have less projects so we have time to reach out, because that's just a continual thing that we have to do in this line of work.
Yeah, we had a lot of up and downs in like, okay, this month we're reaching out so much to businesses, but then the next month we had so much work, but we didn't do any reach outs. So then next month we didn't have anything. So,
right. So feast or famine in that time.
Yeah.
When you began, and this was like somewhat emergent to make this a thing, right? Yeah. What was your headspace at then when you're reaching out? Just is this a Hail Mary thing? I'm going to just send out 50 DMs and oh my goodness, no one reached back? Or what's that like?
I think it was out of fear, definitely, because I didn't have a job, he didn't have a job, I had savings, so it was out of like, feast or famine. We had to reach out to survive and find clients to survive, and if not, I was still trying to apply for jobs just in case it didn't work out. But we both say that because we didn't have really another option, we were forced to make it work. And so we always remind ourselves that today, that if we're kind of in a low part, it always comes back, because it always does. We've never had a time where we just don't have any work and we're really struggling. It just always comes in waves. And so in the beginning it was out of...
Yeah, there was no plan B. It was like straight up, this has to work. Like
if you hadn't lost your job, this wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Interesting.
And so we always say that too, that having no plan B forced us to make plan A work. And that's kind of a way that I think a lot of people when they start a side hustle or something, they always have their job, their real job that they can fall back on. But sometimes when you don't have that to fall back on, you make your plan B or your plan that you want to work, you make it work because you don't have another option.
And that's why life is so scary.
Yeah.
It is. You have to be kind of like always on the edge, you know?
Yeah, like kids, don't quit your day job, but
Sometimes you gotta quit.
yeah, sometimes you gotta quit your day
Sometimes
job.
you
So
gotta-
where were you? Were you in San Diego the entire time you were growing this?
Yeah, so in 2020 and 2021, we were in San Diego, and then
Yeah, we were actually living in the house of a Chinese woman. It was great.
We shared
But it was an apartment.
Yeah, the first 6 months of our business, we shared an apartment with a woman. We lived in a room in her apartment because we had no money, so we were just making it work. And then in 2021, we moved to a house that had 2 bedrooms. And then we used 1 bedroom as our studio and 1 bedroom to sleep in. And then the kitchen was good to shoot photos in, so we didn't have to charge clients for a space, which was really amazing. And then in 2022, we wanted to buy a house, but in California, that's impossible.
Yeah, no, in
And
San
we
Diego.
need the space for a studio and for all these props we were accumulating. And so then we bought a house in Florida. Now we live in Florida, in Palm Beach. And we have 1 studio room, 1 room that has all of our things in it, our props, and then obviously our bedrooms and stuff. But
So when you were in the room in 2020 and you're just kind of getting things going, was there a level of optimism, or was there a piece of you where you're just like, I don't know how things are going. Is this a good life choice?
I think on my end, I had my degree in computer sciences, so I thought, okay, worst case scenario, I fall back on that. But I think Hernan and my fear was that what's going to happen with us, what's going to happen with Hernan, because he couldn't legally work there. So then we did get him his visa, his U.S. visa, and applied for the green card so that he could work legally. And obviously we had him under the company and stuff, but I don't know if we ever thought of like, what's Hernan going to do? That's why we just always kept pushing forward with what we were doing.
No, because I had a tourist visa at the beginning. So it was like, or I work illegally in a kitchen of a restaurant, or that was that was the only plan B literally
Yeah.
that I could imagine for me. Like,
Because I don't think we mentioned Hernan's from Argentina. So
Yeah.
he has the Argentine passport.
yeah, about the accent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Bismarck,
North Dakota. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And before all this, I mean, you had been a photographer as your full-time job?
No, I was like part-time.
Okay.
I was living in Indonesia for 3 years. I actually lived 2 years in Indonesia. I was like, okay, I was surfing, living my life, just kind of hippie life. Then I was like, okay, I need to move out of this island because I was feeling that I was stuck. I was working in restaurants, creating content for restaurants and stuff. So that was my primary job. So it was kind of photography, my primary job. But then I moved back to Europe. Not back to Europe. I moved to Europe, to Sweden, to Germany. I work as a waiter there. I just did a bunch of stuff. But then I didn't really like the cold of Europe. So I came back to Indonesia. The week that I came back to Indonesia, I met Sam. And then I came back as also a manager of a restaurant. So I was managing 3 restaurants and I was also creating content. So photography was kind of my part job. I was doing a little bit of fashion too. So that was my job.
yeah, but never for both of us. We never were doing social media as a job when we met.
That's a primary job. Yeah, no,
It turned into our job only mid last year in 2022. Social media became actually a full-time job for us.
And then the other side of this, that's the influencer side. How did that come about, and what does that look like today?
Yeah, so in July of 2021, I wasn't really posting on TikTok because I was like, I don't want to learn another platform. This is lame. So I posted a video of Hernan watching a soccer game, and Argentines are crazy with their soccer, and so he was swearing and screaming at the TV. And I was like, this is so weird. And so I was videoing him, and then I posted it on TikTok. And actually, his dad was like, you need to take that down. This looks terrible on our family because he's swearing. And it was all in Spanish.
But that's from like a small town. It's like...
Hernan's from a town, how many people? 7,000?
7,000 people.
So, and his dad owns a hardware store. So his dad was like, my customers are saying this is bad. And
How are his hardware store customers seeing this TikTok?
On TikTok, I think.
Yeah, because
They just-
because some news channels that were they were picking it up in
Because-
Argentina.
Yeah, because it went really viral. It got like 2 million views.
That's
and
great.
so then they were picking it up. This is Hernan from Arequito. This is his. And so obviously you get 2 million views and you're like, let's do another one. So then when it was the final, that was the semifinal. And then the final, I videoed him again reacting. That one also got 2 million views. And at that time, we got about 40,000 followers just from those 2 videos. And then we had another video that we posted.
Before that one.
Yeah, because we were posting videos on there just kind of for fun, just to see.
Yeah.
Once a week. Something like super like random.
But doesn't it seem that went viral, your reaction to a football game, that maybe you should watch how you maybe that's an unusual reaction.
Yeah, no, like it was I was like, okay, maybe my dad is right, like maybe I should take this down. But in Argentina, everyone literally when they go to a soccer game, they are like that. So I was like, okay, yeah, like this is. I know it's like I'm not used to post my life like that, but it's like okay, everyone reacts. Everyone knows that. Everyone reacts like that, so it's fine.
Yeah.
And then it was a video of her trying to pronounce Spanish words, and people were reacting to that one. So I was like, oh, maybe that's kind of like the way. It's like Sam learning about
Argentine culture and reacting to his culture, because that was kind of the basis of all 3 of those videos. And so then we started posting videos about international couple things and our life as an international couple, and mostly being funny and showing a positive, healthy relationship. And they just kept going viral. And obviously we really liked the attention and the virality of all of it. And so we kept making more and more and more. And the premise of the whole thing was always to be positive, show a healthy relationship, and bring, and show the cultural differences. And so since then, now we have 1.4 million followers on TikTok. And then we post the same videos on Instagram. And so both of our Instagrams blew up from posting these same videos. And then when we went to Argentina for the first time in December of 2021, in 2 months, we grew like 400,000 followers, which was really crazy for us. And then we hit 1 million in 2022, in June of 2022, about a year ago.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it was crazy. And we got our first brand deal when we hit 1 million followers, which we thought it would be sooner, but we can't complain.
Is that kind of a benchmark in social media? 1 million followers?
I feel like in TikTok, maybe 500,000 followers is like if before 500,000 you don't probably get anything, and then we had that fear. I mean, at least me. I don't know. Talk about her, but we had that fear of like, okay, we have like a personality in TikTok, and then my Instagram. I had a lot of hometown people, a lot of like people from college. So it's like I'm gonna post these kind of things that I'm doing TikTok and Instagram. So it's kind of like it's maybe cringe,
because
like
a lot of the stuff we post on TikTok is super silly and super like.
Yeah.
Not trying to be very pretty and poised, and maybe on Instagram our portfolio was more being pretty and being all perfect, and then on TikTok it's us just being silly, and we were kind of scared to post that stuff on Instagram, but then that was what got us followers on Instagram and created that whole persona. So now we really like that our followers just like us for who we are and not for being this perfect people.
Yeah, so I think like when we started doing TikTok, we have already almost 500,000 in TikTok. We didn't have almost anything in Instagram, so we had like 20K or something.
Yeah, not anything, 20,000. It was a lot.
Yeah, but still, like, it was not kind of like. I feel like brands also see that. It's like, okay, they have a presence there, they're like uniform, and sometimes you're not trying to hide it anymore. You're kind of like putting everything out and to see what happens. So I think brands also start seeing that. It's like, okay, that's what they do,
Right.
It's not just a TikTok silly thing. They just like are putting work on it.
Is this
I don't know if
all,
it makes sense what I'm
yeah,
saying.
it does. Is this all encompassing, like part of your brand, or do you have 2 specific streams? Like this is Mate Society and that stays there, and this is our
100%.
social media presence and that stays there?
Completely.
Okay.
It's like 2 jobs for us.
Yeah, we kind of say that there's either our influencer side where we'll post content under our characters that we are online, because obviously everyone's different online than in real life. So we have this character online of us that we'll create content with, or we will post from a brand's perspective. So we won't really show our faces. We'll be in the brand voice. It'll be in English. But all of our social media stuff as an influencer is all in Spanish. Our followers are all from South America.
Mostly, yeah.
So it's either like the user-generated content side where we don't post it, or the sponsored post side where we post it and promote the brand on our own page.
Yeah, and a lot of brands from the US are looking for us to post content in Spanish. There's like 50, 60 million people speaking Spanish in the US today. So it's a lot of the brands look for us for that.
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we do some promotions for brands, US brands too, because they want that Hispanic market, and there's not a lot of creators that are creating in Spanish here in the US.
More living in Florida. Right?
I took German in high school. So.
Well, here is a lot of German.
Yeah, and you can talk to all the North Dakota Germans. There's a lot of them here.
At the time, it was the cafeteria ladies, and you want to connect with them.
Yeah, then you get an extra cookie or something.
Exactly. So it was important at the time. But as you're growing, and maybe in that 1-bedroom apartment, was there a moment that you were like, oh shoot, there's something here, like we can make this a thing?
I think when we got our first client, our client Yogurtland, that they're a franchise with I think 150 franchises, and we were like, oh wow, like this is pretty big.
Yeah, because at the beginning we were not like, I don't know, we were in a weird moment. I think within ourselves, I was like, we're not really putting the work that it was need to be done. You know, it was like kind of like.
We wake up at 9 a.m.
It was like half-assed somehow.
You
know?
Can we swear?
Sorry.
Go for it.
Oh my God.
I'm just going to put a chicken noise over it.
And by 3 p.m. we were done working every day. We'd go to the beach. So
yeah,
we'd work like 9 to 3. But when you're a founder, we all know it's more than a full-time job. And so we weren't really taking it like that.
Yeah, and I think when we got the house, the bigger house, we moved out from the sharing apartment. We took out the new house. We had a bigger rent.
Triple the rent.
Was triple the rent. Was like $2,500, which was crazy for us. I was like, okay, like we got really scared. It's like, okay, we actually have to pay for like this amount of money, and that I think brought us like, okay, like we scared, and I think that brought us the responsibility and say, okay, we actually have to work. We have to take it seriously. Like we cannot.
We have to push this, and we have to make it work. And then at that time, we definitely did, because also in that moment, Hernan was waiting for his green card to come, and so he wasn't allowed to leave the country. And obviously we met traveling, so we love traveling. So we couldn't travel really except in the US. And so we just put all of our headspace and our energy into working. And then if we would travel because a client wanted us to travel. And so in that year,
it was like literally 24/7.
We didn't take weekends off. We were working every single day.
No friends.
We didn't have we honestly didn't make many friends at all in San Diego because we were working all the time, which obviously now we learned we had to find a balance with that because that's not sustainable. But it was what we needed at the time because it really accelerated us to where we are today, I think, in a faster way.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have a career that's from the outside looking in the next generation really sought after. I want to be an influencer or whatever. And what I'm hearing is this was not only a lot of work to get to where you are, but it was like maybe you need a better balance to actually be able to live as well. So that's really interesting to me. But what is like, has that gotten better, or is it the grind is just like still the main thing?
I think it's definitely gotten better. We've focused a lot on now at home because obviously we work from home, so it's really hard to separate that balance. We started now doing where we schedule in our workouts every week. We do on Sundays we do a calendar meeting together, and we'll have our non-negotiables, which for us is our health and our time together. So in the beginning, we'll start by putting all of our workouts in for the week. We'll put in, like, we're going to go to the beach on Saturday. We're going to work on the house on Saturday. And then we fill in all of our work meetings and what we're going to film when. So the weekends for us are non-negotiable to not work. We'll just work in the yard or do other things that aren't online, our online work. And then during the weekday, we make sure we stop by 5 p.m. because before we were going like 9 in the morning to 10 at night. So now that's a non-negotiable for us because that's not sustainable, or it's more sustainable to be working out and for your mental clarity, for your creative mind. You need to
doing
do
the
that.
calendar planning is life-changing for us. We literally even put in the calendar, in the Google Calendar, we even put like have lunch. Like
1 hour
like
for lunch, so then we can talk. And because before we would have the computer and be eating lunch and working at the same time. And we realize now when we're talking and having lunch, we'll have a creative idea or just talk because we're also in the relationship side too. So we need that time to just not talk about work and just talk.
How does that dynamic work where you're beginning a relationship together, but also a business together?
I think we got really lucky because it worked really well. Because we have a very different working style. Hernan's he has a lot of ideas. He just can't figure out how to make them come to fruition. And I'm more super detail oriented and organized. And so we complement each other in that way.
Yeah, I never worked in corporate in my whole life, never, because when I was young, I worked in the hardware store of my dad. So it's like I had always that family business kind of tree, and she worked in huge companies. So she had like the processes and plus writing a proper email in English. That for me, it's like hard. So we had those two like opposites of like being super formal in a way to say and being super like informal. So it's like that worked out good. But at the beginning, we definitely had some moments. It was like we like, I don't know, in Argentina we do siesta every day, like nap. And I'm
like, you're in the US, we don't do that here. We don't take a nap during the workday.
What time do you nap in Argentina?
1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Oh.
Things like that. Yeah,
You got it about right.
yeah.
Write that down.
I was from small town. The hardware store of my dad used to close at like 8 to 12, and then open again at 3 p.m. to 5, like old school.
Yeah.
So I was used to that, and she was like, "No, we cannot." So I was like, "Coffee."
Sounds supremely healthy.
Yeah.
Sounds like the life of my 4-year-old.
Right?
That sounds awesome.
Sort of.
And at some point after I had met you guys and you did incredible work for Mighty Missouri, and then
By the way, this coffee is amazing.
hey, thank you
Great.
very much.
Which one is this one?
This one is a blend. It's a new blend. We haven't
really?
named it or anything. It's 3 different coffees
Exclusive.
in there. It's exclusive
That's nice.
podcast.
Lake Weekend is for us, our to go.
I appreciate
Yes,
that.
that's
Me
our
too.
one, yeah.
I like that. But at some point, it couldn't have been more than 2 years because you guys have had this meteoric rise in popularity. But I saw that you guys were in Forbes magazine, and you had a TED Talk, and what else? Entrepreneur magazine. When did these kinds of this publicity start coming?
I think right after our TikTok started taking off in July 2021, and then we worked with Procter & Gamble. Forbes reached out to us about doing an interview about, it was Forbes Argentina. So they were really interested in how Hernan, as an Argentine, made a business in the US that was working with multinational companies. And so we did that interview with them end of 2021. Entrepreneur magazine, we did an interview with them because actually the journalist, we connected with in San Diego somehow. And so that was kind of crazy how that connection came back to something really impactful for us. And then Hernan's TED Talk they invited him to do it, I think because of TikTok, right?
Yeah, it's happening in my hometown, and the people organizing it was like, okay, he has to be here. So I end up going super scared.
And it was on his birthday.
It was on my birthday too. It was kind of crazy. I was like super scared. I didn't think I did a good job in the
No,
talk.
he did great. He had never done a speech in his life, so he was very, very stressed. And so he had given it to me about 100 times.
No, I procrastinated like crazy. Like the day before, I didn't even know a lot. I didn't have it all in my mind. And when I arrived the day of the TED Talk, this older guy that was like a professional speaker, was like, no, I practiced it like 40 times. I was like, I practiced it one time.
No, he practiced it more. He just had never, he used the paper the whole time practicing. And I was like, you got to get it without the paper. And
super scared.
But he did great. And it was like one of those things where he had to get the slides going with his speech.
No, it was
and
crazy.
He had,
so I get in the stage. I was like, okay, the guy was setting up the sound for me, this little thing. Mm-hmm. And the person already presented me. Everyone clapped and everything. And I didn't come in the stage because the guy was still with the thing. So I entered the stage. Silence.
Poor guy.
And then I started. 5 seconds after I started, my microphone didn't work. So I had to go back, come back to the stage with 2 microphones. So now I have this one and then one in the hand. And then I start doing the slides. So I started the talk. The slides didn't work. And I was like, okay, this is terrible. This is and I don't know. I just kept going. I missed a whole chunk. But it made sense at the end.
Yeah.
But
it's
then
on YouTube. If anyone knows Spanish and wants to watch it, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, but then I enter. At the end of the talk, I was like, "What happened with the slides?" Oh no, we saw that they were not working. We started to pass them like we thought they were the order. It was a mess.
Oh,
So
I
was
feel
like,
that for you.
So I was like really nerve-wracking.
So before you went out, did you have pretty bad stage fright?
Before,
Oh, like
in
when you're
a
standing
moment,
backstage?
Oh my god, I was frozen. I was scared, like really bad.
Were you thinking about like maybe how bad's it gonna look if I just ditched?
I was in the bathroom like this, in the sink, like looking at the mirror, like I don't know how I'm gonna do this.
No, I think also I was like, Hernan, you cannot pull out of this. Like, this is a TED Talk. It is a huge deal, and it's super cool that they even invited you.
That's not helping.
I know.
Yeah, that's literally not.
He was like, please stop, please stop.
The thing that helped was at night, and it was in a theater, so I didn't see anybody there.
Yeah.
I was like looking to the lights. I don't know, but some people say that sometimes you focus on one person and it's easier because you feel like you're talking to somebody.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I had a similar experience, not on the same stage at all, but where I was a keynote speaker, and it was the first time like that. But I did theater through high school, and I was fine with that. But something about you're just exposing. You're going to be out there exposed about everything. This is my story, and this is my life. That's 100 times more terrifying. I had like dry mouth. I was like, I went out there. I don't know if a word's going to come out when I start to talk.
Yeah.
But kudos to you. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But it worked out, your speech. You said
it
something.
It did. Once I got a laugh, once that happened, everything melted away, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm fine again. But they had like a video beforehand, and I was looking like, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world if I just don't show up.
It's like 5 minutes in. Yeah. It's like 5 minutes in that you're like, okay, that's it. But if I do another talk ever in my life, I will not do anything like with the screen, nothing. I'll just talk.
Well, the same thing happened in Argentina. We did a business talk together for the kind of like the Forbes of Argentina, but like a smaller scale. And it was all in Spanish, and it's my first time giving an interview in Spanish, and I was stressed because Hernan and I practiced, like, what's our story? And I'm like, okay, I practiced it. But then when I'm in front of people and it's in Spanish, I got so frozen, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, that probably looked terrible. And Hernan's like, everyone knows you don't speak Spanish. Like, you even tried. That's a big thing, so.
I don't think people realize when you're giving a speech that you're doing, or you're that nervous, or didn't say exactly what you're supposed to. People don't realize those things.
No one knows your speech but you.
Yeah.
So. Right. So some of the brands that you're working with now, what are you excited about? Well, actually, what are some of the highlights for you first, and then we can talk about some of the things coming.
Yeah. Well, we just finished a shoot with Bud Light. That was huge for us. We were really excited. Right before everything happened with Bud Light, we signed the contract. And either way, for us, it's a really good portfolio. So we're really happy with that. And it's in a collaboration with Tajín. So we get Bud Light and Tajín on the portfolio. We did a shoot where we're doing...
I have a question about the Bud Light thing.
Yeah.
So you signed first, and then this whole thing happens.
Yeah.
And so you guys are kind of... You're the saviors of Bud Light here.
I mean,
is that why
you're saying it? You said it, not us. No. I mean, we were kind of nervous also because it was for their Chelada Tajín. So they said, oh, we like that Hernan's from Argentina, so bring a Hispanic lens into this. And we knew it would be very hyper judged. So we had to make it Hispanic without being cultural appropriation, because obviously a whole spotlight is on them. But we did a good job. We made sure everything got approved by them before.
Yeah, because they were in a sensitive moment, and they're like, okay, what they approve, what they don't approve. Yeah.
Because Bud Light, after this whole thing, then they brought out some like other commercials, and people are like, oh, look what Bud Light's trying to do now.
Yeah.
Everything that they do now is just like on Spotlight, and
yeah, we were really nervous about that.
So it hasn't been like your stuff hasn't come out yet?
No.
No.
Oh, good. We're cheering you on for that.
Pray for us that we're not in the news.
It's an American audience for this?
Yes.
Okay.
It's only photos and animations, so our faces are not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's Monte Society produced everything. We did everything for it, so I think it'll be fine though. Yeah. It's not. Hernan is also Hispanic, so that helps because it's not cultural appropriation when he did it himself.
Right. So
that's awesome. And sorry, after Bud Light, then there's some other things that you're excited about.
Yeah, so Nestle's drumstick. You know the ice cream cones everyone knows drumsticks. They're amazing.
Familiar?
I had one this morning.
For breakfast.
We do.
Did you?
No.
I would have been concerned. We do TikTok videos for them every month, and so they grew 500,000 followers because of our TikToks. We just did one, and it got 40 million views.
Yeah, we got almost like, I think between all of them, probably 100 million views.
Yeah, and some of them have our face in it, but some not. And that project's huge for us also, but it's also super fun because the concept for them is being crazy on TikTok. So we're like slingshotting drumsticks. We're like drilling them with tools, and we're like, what is our job? We're like drilling drumsticks, and we're like, get to work. But
Yeah, that's kind of great.
Is
That's
40
huge for us.
million, is that a record, or what is a record?
Our record on our personal page is 25 million on one video. And that one
Yes.
was a video of Hernan. We were planning a date day, and he had cards, and so it said sushi or pizza. And
Do you
then
remember that trend? Like,
Mhm.
you know, like, yeah.
yeah, but if people don't know the trend, it was I would pick one, and I couldn't see it, so I'd pick, and then it was like sushi, and then I would be excited because we're going to get sushi, and we did it throughout a whole day, and it got 25 million views, I guess.
Yeah, that's our most.
That's our
Were you-
record.
and when you put something out like that, are you surprised at the reaction? Like, I didn't expect this to go that big, and what goes into that?
Yeah, I mean, we have videos that we think that are bangers and they flop completely.
Yeah, but
and then,
the problem right now is our perception of views is completely distorted because what we say is, oh, it flopped. It got less than 100,000 views. So if it got 50,000 views, we're like, it did terrible. And it's
Yeah.
like, what even is that? You know, like
2
so
years ago, that wasn't.
that was
Yeah.
viral. So
Yeah.
we're kind of like in that moment now that we're trying to kind of put ourselves back into reality of like, okay, it's 100,000 people. Look at a football stadium. That's how many football stadiums. Like,
Yeah, no kidding.
bring it into perspective.
And is there a level of how much of it is based on the algorithm of social media and versus what you actually put into it?
yeah, I feel like that's kind of like a fight that we have with ourselves. Is like, was that the algorithm or was just the content that someone did? It was not it.
Because
you know?
what happens to us is we'll post it on TikTok. It does bad. Then we'll post it on Instagram and it goes really viral and we'll get a bunch of followers from it. And so we're like, oh, so the content wasn't bad. The algorithm just didn't push it.
Or
Some-
the public in TikTok is a little different to the Instagram, and this didn't work in Instagram and it worked in TikTok.
So
Yeah.
then, but sometimes it'll do bad on both. And we're like, well, maybe that was just a bad
Yeah.
video. And so what we've decided, because we used to be posting every single day and we would feel bad if we didn't post every day. Now we decided that, you know what, we have enough followers. Like we're happy. We don't need more followers. Now let's try to put something out that we're really proud of and that we think is really cool and unique and is like an artistic expression of our creativity. So we're posting less, but higher quality, we think. And that's been working a lot better for us.
Yeah.
We've been getting more engagement lately.
Awesome. So how long ago did you start this business?
To start posting?
Well,
Or Mate.
Mate.
We started our agency 3 years ago. Technically, July 4th, actually, of 2020 was when we created the website and the branding. And I think we emailed Brian on July 4th.
I'm honored. I really am. So, okay, that was 3 years ago. What does this look like in 3 years from now?
That is crazy
That's
to
a good
think
question.
about because we're always only thinking about 1 year ahead, which is probably not the best. But what we're really pushing towards now is since we have attention and engagement, we want to make consumer packaged goods products ourselves because now we have clients and we think we kind of know the marketing side of it. So let's do it for ourselves. So now we're going to make a yerba mate for Argentina, which is like a tea they drink in Argentina. It's more popular than coffee. And so that we're going to probably launch in October. But creating a business in Argentina is completely different than here in the U.S. So we've been in the legal part of it for about 4 months now.
Oh, sure.
And Hernan has to do all of that because it's all in Spanish.
Is it going to be like a storefront, like a coffee shop type of thing, or are you going to be
Online.
providing? Okay,
Is
like
it-
direct
it's
to
a-
consumer?
Yeah.
Direct to
Okay.
consumer, yeah. And then we have a bunch of other ideas. Should we say them?
Yeah, we have some other ideas. We have.
Let's
so
just
many
say our
and-
ideas. I think it's good to send them out there. It's like a manifestation.
Yeah.
We want to do a limoncello because Hernan's grandma used to make limoncello,
Yeah.
so we want to do that. We want to maybe do a wine, but I don't know. I'm not really like a wine person, so I don't know. What was the other things? You had a bunch of ideas.
Merch. We want to
Yeah.
do merch too.
Yeah, we want to do like clothing stuff, just kind of spread our wings in multiple different things.
Absolutely.
Because why not? You don't need. Our idea is that let's start 5-10 brands, and as long as one is successful, it's a win. So let's just keep going. And then for Mate Society, I think we're really happy that we're working with huge clients. But right now it is like a lot of behind the scenes work of reaching out. So ideally we are starting to get into the process of maybe getting an assistant or someone to work with us, because our plate is really full. So if we're adding these brands on, we need to start hiring people, which is kind of a problem for
And
us.
we still do everything ourselves. We had for a moment two people that helped us with social media management that we used to do, and also copywriting that we used to do.
But for us, it just wasn't for us, because obviously as a founder, you work differently than people that are not have a direct stake in the business. So we just realized that we liked just working together, and that we just need to increase our prices so we have less projects and we have more energy for these smaller amounts of projects. So then now, since we're adding on more businesses, we're starting to think about hiring people. But
Cool.
I never worked in a manager position, or none did. And so for me, it's kind of hard to take that role because I'm so young. So I don't feel like I should be a manager of people.
Yeah,
but I know I am.
It's like we are comfortable in the way that we work, keeping it kind of boutique, keeping it small, and we do less projects, but we keep most of
Yeah,
for
we're not
ourselves. Like,
we're not trying to grow the agency to be like a multinational agency, which is what we thought at the beginning. We realized that a lot of these agencies have a lot of employees, but then that they have a lot of cost. And so if we just do less projects, higher budget, less costs, operating costs, then that's kind of how we choose to work, I guess. And then the social media side, and then we want to start products, because that's like a dream that we have. We also want to start a podcast in Spanish to our Spanish audience, but I need a few more months of practice for that.
Awesome. That's incredible. I love it. When you have been doing these, have there ever been, other than the times where you've had maybe released a video that got fewer than 100,000 views or something like that, have there been any missteps where you're like, that didn't work?
Yeah, recently actually we've had some things, because I don't really read the comments because they're all in Spanish, and so Hernan reads them, because I don't want to see any hate comments, because then I just keep creating thinking that it's all great.
Right.
So then that's a good thing for me. But recently we kind of play on the joke of Hernan marrying me because I'm an American and wants my passport and all this.
we play that a lot. Like,
And obviously Hernan's in on it. It's not just
it's
me.
a part of the joke.
It's a part of the joke of us as an international couple. And sometimes when we do that, we get a lot of hate for me, or people saying that I'm using their country to make money, and as an American I shouldn't be doing that. But at the same time, I'm with Hernan, and like my kids will also be Hispanic and Argentine, so it's not like it's bad intention, it's for a funny purpose. But we definitely read the comments and take it into consideration,
Yeah.
that maybe that could be a sensitive topic, so maybe we should just not make that joke.
Yeah, but I think it's just like, it's online. Everything you post is always going to get judged. So we know that it's always a small percentage. It's always a 1% percentage that just like sometimes...
Out of all of the comments,
Yeah.
there's just a couple
Yeah.
haters out there.
We've never
but-
gotten canceled, but that's a
nothing.
fear, you know.
Yeah.
Nowadays everyone
Sure.
gets canceled, so it's a fear.
How do you handle that? I mean, I listen like to one bad review 100 times more than the 100 good reviews.
But
So-
I feel that's good, right? You just like take.
I
It's
don't
good to
know.
like. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's good to like see it. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe he has a part that is right.
Yeah.
But probably not too. You know, so it's like you have to take it with like
a grain of salt.
yeah. So
But for you guys, I mean, talking about 40 million views on a video, I'm guessing that gets a certain number
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
comments that are rude. So
Yeah.
you just kind of tuck that away and go about your day, and you're fine.
yeah.
Personally, I don't. If I start scrolling and I see a hate comment, I just stop. Like I do not read any more comments, because I know that if I read too many, I'll start actually feeling bad. So I just stop reading them. And so sometimes Hernan will be like, "Yeah, just don't read the comments on that video," and I'm like, "Okay,
I think it's
just ignore it."
depends on the day. Some day it gets you like super strong, and you're like, oh, like,
You're like,
I don't care. And then
yeah.
some days you're like a little like, you know, having your best day, and it hits you a little more. But I think we're humans, and it's impossible for us to like have an armor like to 100%. But
you, and we talked about this earlier, but you can kind of turn that off then and live your normal life and not have that whatever
yeah,
guy
I think
said
it depends
that.
on the day.
Really?
It definitely depends on the day. I think also having another person, like since we're in it together, like I'll be like, oh, this person said this, and everyone's like, Sam, that guy, look at that person, and then you look at their profile and then it's like, who is this person? They don't post anything. Something we actually saw recently was that somebody with 1 million followers will never criticize you for trying to start your own channel, or somebody that has $1 million business will never criticize you for trying to start your own business. The people that will criticize you are always scared that you're going to get ahead of them. So you have to just take all of those criticisms with a grain of salt, because the people that are above you that you aspire to be will always motivate you and push you to get to that level. So sometimes it's easy to, we're like, okay, we have to remember that, because sometimes people will try to make us have doubts in our heads about what we're doing. And it's like, maybe they are trying to hold us back a little bit and not encourage us to go to the level we want to go.
Yeah, I think that was also good to like she said before, when she's down, I help her a little bit, and the opposite. And that's one of the benefits of having someone, working with someone. Sometimes like having a partner is really hard, but it has those moments that, okay, is this video bad? Like, are we doing something bad? And she's like, no, I think it's okay. It's like, okay, we have two heads a little bit to think. And I think that's cool. That's important.
Yeah, you can bounce it off someone like, wow, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
That
100%.
is important.
And I think like sometimes in these projects, maybe you cannot do it alone, I think that's something I feel like I learned too. It's like, maybe I couldn't do it by myself. And some people work better by themselves, some people work better with partners.
Mm-hmm.
That's also cool.
Yeah. I think for us, a big thing is, having the other person to just like double check, and always in a creative idea, we really like that it's like, oh, what do you think about, I don't know, I do all the styling for our photos. So I'll be like, what do you think about this t-shirt? And then he'll be like, I think it can be better. And then I'll keep looking and spend another couple hours, and then I'll find one, and he's like, yeah, that one's really cool. And it's like that kind of direct feedback that's from him rather than the client, I think really pushes us to be better. Same with photos. I always kind of give my feedback on the photos, even though I'm not a photographer. And he's always like, oh, yeah, you're right. That's cool.
So you guys is this like technically a vacation coming back to North Dakota?
Oh, yeah.
It's a vacation.
It's a
so
vacation
are you not DMing the 50 people every other day for this
I
time?
did.
Oh,
Did
no,
you?
we are.
So when you're doing that, or do you have someone in mind, like, or do you repeat like, man, this brand, this would be it. This is the holy grail of brands that I want to work with.
Yeah, we have dream clients and stuff.
Could you name one?
Now it's hard to, when it's on the spot, it's like so hard.
We've had a lot
That's
of
a
dream
good
clients.
one. Yeah. Dream client. We did some.
We have a list.
Yeah.
I need to think. Oh, someone like a
question.
Pepsi or a Coca-Cola, that would be huge. We would love that. Or like McDonald's, someone like that level would be huge for us. We do a lot of canned beverages. That's what a lot of our clients are. I'd say 70% are canned beverages, because we're really good at getting it to be like natural looking photos. So I think any of these huge names in canned beverages.
we have an Excel sheet that we put all the leads we get from Instagram. I put them in this Excel sheet, and Sam reaches out by email multiple times.
There's 1,500 brands in that sheet.
Wow.
It's our mother load.
That you guys are 3 years into your business, and McDonald's, Pepsi, and Coke are like considerations. They're on the table. I think speaks to how massive this has gotten so quickly. So yeah, I mean the sky's the limit for you guys. Do you have anything else to add while we're here?
I think a big thing that I learned coming from a small town, and I think Hernan can speak to this too, is like having the fear, or eliminating the fear to do what your dreams are, because the worst thing is that it could fail. And that's something that I always feel like in a small town, the culture is to, if someone steps out of line or what's typical, is to kind of roast them or chirp them for what they're doing. And that's just like the culture kind of. And so I think that trying to just ignore those things and keep pushing is like what's just so important for people, because there's so much opportunity and talent in small towns, and it can be so much success coming out of stepping out of line and doing something different and following the dreams that you have. That's so cheesy, but it's true.
I couldn't agree more.
It is cheesy, but it's true. And I think the same for content wise. It's just like everyone now loves to see the things how they are.
Yeah. We talk about that a lot, that like there's people on TikTok that are famous because it's like he picks up the trash every day and he shows his day in the life. And it's like, even if you think my life is not interesting at all, people want to see that, especially here in a small town, like the dairy farmers or running a coffee shop. It's like, I don't do that. So I'm so curious, like, what do you do in a day? And so sometimes people think, well, I don't live in a pretty house, I don't have an interesting life. And it's like, actually, your life is interesting because it's different than everybody else's. So
I love it.
yeah,
So I think,
there's always something to post, even if you think that it's not cool. And a lot of people on TikTok are getting famous because of that, because their house isn't so perfect. That's like a cool thing now on TikTok.
Yeah.
That's like the trend now.
Yeah,
That's the trend.
I think that's a good way of saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Sam, Hernan, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so
been
much,
great.
guys.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing. Thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Brian Jackson with Mighty Missouri Coffee. With me is Nolan Johnson with Quantum Digital. So if you like how this sounds and looks, thanks to Quantum Digital, if you like the way that this smells and tastes, that's thanks to Mighty Missouri Coffee. Coffee to your door, mightymissouri.com.